All right. Well, welcome everybody. Great to see everyone joining us here on our first of two, this segment of today's health and wellness with Dr. Ross Brakeville. And I say one of two because today is Tuesday, the 19th, and we're going to visit again, recapping this next Tuesday as well. Same time and same bat channel, 12:30 to 1:15 Eastern Standard Time. So with that, we have some video, we have some interactive session planned. Last Saturday, here locally in Marietta, at the beautiful City Club Marietta, which it looks like the greens are coming in very nicely, and they're certainly getting a lot of activity, a lot of play, like many golf courses here in Georgia. But Ross and we had the pleasure of meeting up with the participant of our program. He is a incomplete T6 injury, among some other like nerve issues of lack of feeling on his right side. And so he was kind enough to drive many miles to drop in and meet with us. And I have some screen share here, right? It's the rotational and really in building a better turn in the golf swing. And it's adaptive golf, individualize the sport to the individual. So with that, and with Dr. Ross getting to know James, I'll just cue up the picture first so you can kind of see what he had brought along to help with his rotational torso turn. So Ross, would you want to take it away and talk to us some of the tools and reasoning of what you had him start out with?
Yeah, so this was trying to develop some efficient ways for warm up, prior to go out and either whether you're hitting balls or whether or not you're going to go play. And I brought this TheraBand with me, and we just kind of improvised with that TheraBand, hooking it up. I don't know if you guys all can see that TheraBand, that little black tubing that's attached to the golf cart.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's a little clip there that I had, and then we got it attached to one of his golf clubs. We put it on the other end and had him put this around his chest. So there's three things we were working on with him to get him warmed up. One was rotation, so trying to improve rotation. So everybody needs to have a good rotary capacity. So the motion to get better. Number two, the strength to be able to make the turn and to improve on that through his core, which reduces stress to his back. So this partial spinal injury, you want to be able to make sure you stay stable through your spine as well as the hips. And the third thing was to improve his balance. So he fights and struggles, as a lot of us do, with maintaining balance through these rotational movement patterns. So to affect all three of those, we've got really one simple band that we can use with different locations on his body to work on improving each of them. And we can kind of look through some of the things that he does, which it might not be quite so easy to see. So we'll kind of reinforce those here with the position. I have those with the band and a stick in here today as well. So again, you can see the first one he's doing with the band across his, you can kind of tell it's coming at by his chest. And are any of these movements or just pictures on these, David?
A lot of
I got you.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Man, you ask and you receive. That's nice. So the band is pulling him to the left, and he's trying to rotate his body. He's letting the band pull him left, which works on building stability, but it also works on getting motion as he tries to turn further and further to the left. And then as he turns to the right, the resistance of the band helps him with further strength. And if we really want to make sure we're doing it right, he's maintaining his posture very well. So he's not standing up and bending further over.
Okay.
He's trying to keep his head and his body in a good position. And you saw him bring his feet together. So now by bringing his feet together, we're making it even more difficult for him to stay in position and posture and maintain balance as he's going through these same motions. So we're getting three things all at once. Range of motion by him being pulled backwards, strength by him resisting it, turning forward, and the fact that he's doing with his feet close together we're working on his balance. And then this goes the opposite direction as well. So we can put it on his right side. And then from there, I think we may have, I'm not sure if it's in this segment or not, or sequence. We also put it on his pelvis to work on hip motion, which there he goes. He's starting to put on his pelvis.
And I remember, I mean, watching and observing and watching the video here, and you just, you don't really get a feel, you know, literally of how that might be burning or feeling in that left shoulder. But, and he then, you know, gave testament to how much he could feel with that left shoulder, you know, his lead shoulder when you had him, you know, up on top. With
Yeah, and it's not as much the shoulder itself. It's that side of his body, that whole side of his body. When that band was pulling him back and he's fighting to come through with that, he's feeling it pulling that shoulder back, and he feels it in his entire side of his body, depending on what side he's working, to try to either pull with his left or with his right side as he comes to the movement.
Can I ask you a quick question?
No.
Great, I'll just keep it in my head. What would you recommend that we do if we're not able to create that? Because I do remember, sorry, just to say, I've been doing adaptive golf since last year. I have MS, it impacts my balance, and of course that range of motion. And I think one of the coaches did have me do something similar to that. My question to you is, I definitely see the value of him having that resistance. Is there anything I can do to imitate that resistance at home? Because I have really nothing to kind of connect that resistance band to, or should I just focus on that range of motion and get stronger from that?
But do you have bands?
I do have bands. I have, as a matter of fact, and I will definitely be looking for them. I do have those resistance bands.
Good. So those resistance bands, you can hook it into a door frame. So I can take a band. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to move my.
Yes, please, because I can't understand how you mean that. Okay.
Let's go ahead and spotlight or pin his video.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got a clip on it, but you don't need to use the clip. If you just put a knot, if you got a knot, then you can put a knot in either side. Okay.
Okay.
And you don't have to have the golf club either. Golf club is an added accessory, which I like, but you can just close that off in a door frame. Now, what I don't recommend is doing it in a door. I don't know if you can tell this door, but this door is being pulled open by my band.
Fair enough. Okay.
So if it's not locked all the way and I pull on it, that door's going to pop open and pop me in the head.
Right.
But you really want to do it from the other side. You want to pull the door closed. That way, even if it's not
Oh,
locked,
that makes sense. Okay. You're never having, okay. That makes, okay.
That's a safety feature to be able to do that, okay? And this door is going to pop open possibly. But then what you can do is then even if I don't have a golf club, I can put this around my chest. Okay, and I turn further away like this, so now the band is pulling me back, and then I'm resisting it as I move forward.
Okay.
You can see how that's working.
Mm-hmm.
Great way to be able to work on that motion, that mobility. And if I get in my posture, I can take it to the top of the door.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of thing. And from on top, when I get into my posture, it pulls me up, and I maintain that as I come through the motion.
Gotcha.
Do that, and I do that on both sides.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, and then I'm not sure if you can see my feet. So those movements were great to be able to do to get motion and mobility and stability. But if I didn't either put them together, can you see that?
Right, I can see.
That's going to tax my balance as I go through these motions and movements. Or to even make it more difficult, if I put one foot in front of the other one, literally right in front.
Okay.
To the side is easier, but I'm literally putting my left foot in front of my right foot and then going through the same thing. It's even harder to be able to maintain that balance.
Gotcha.
Tax that. Now,
Okay.
with MS, you want to be careful about doing a high volume of those, especially if you're having a little bit more of an exacerbation period. You might want to put yourself into a position where you're kind of taking them and kind of move slowly, but we do 5 or 6 of them to start activating those muscles. You don't want to do 100 of them and get yourself worn out.
Right. Okay, good stuff. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Actually, and you know, I wanted to ask, so of course I see the motion is the rotation is upper, but I'm assuming that's also working on our waist because that's where we're actually rotating from, right? It's coming from our waist.
From the weight, is that what you said?
The waist.
Every time that you do a rotational movement, that weight is going to have to move and go with you.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
the other that we saw with James, we can also hook it on the hips
Oh,
and put it down here. And if I put a lot of weight on one side, it rotates, and I can work on rotating through one hip, and then I can work on the same thing with the other hip.
okay, that's good to know. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
get those movements and then switching the sides and same thing. So I want to always
Okay.
go both ways. And I want to really try to twist and turn as far as I can twist and turn
Hmm.
hips as well as my trunk, because that really stretches me. The band's pulling me back. I'm really getting a lot of stretch in that hip and then
Mhm.
resisting as I come forward and build that stability.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for that.
And
Hey,
if you wanna add
David,
a
is this
level-
something that we're trying to incorporate into our clinics?
Yes,
I think it's a
absolutely.
great thing to do. Where David and I were, after we finished the session, we were talking about building some
Mhm.
tools to be able to use for everybody. So I'm gonna make some dowels that are, you know, maybe a little bit longer than a golf club, and put some, this is a high-end one, but this is a metal one, but putting little eye rings in the ends, then we can attach the bands, and it's easy to stick in a golf bag. And because it's a little wooden dowel, it's very light. And then you can put the bands on it,
Fantastic.
same thing. Now I've got a tool that I can click to the golf cart before I go out and play. I can click it onto something else. I can work on it there, easy to work on doing these at home. This is one of the greatest things from this, of all the exercises that we do, this is one of the most effective and efficient ways of being able to improve the golf swing control through a rotational movement pattern through the trunk as well as the legs.
Yeah, so that was a great question, Tom. And I mean, we realized, and when he just mentioned talking to Jim, he is, you know, by no means a range rat. If you say, you know, if someone goes and they just hit a lot of golf balls and, you know, are repetitious on the range, he just goes out and he plays because there's that, you know, the lapse between a golf shot and then getting in the cart and going to the next shot. And so he said this was a huge difference by warming up in the way that Ross presented with the shoulders, with the hips, and doing those rotational with resistance in the golf posture. He said everything else just seemed so easier and he was less fatigued after practicing. So I think that's really key, because when you think about what we do warm-up wise, what do? We kind of do our shoulder, you know,
Right.
do our stretches, and we might do some hand and wrist and, you know, forearm, you know, tendon stuff. And then what? We reach and touch our toes and do like a little hamstring exercise, and do some twists and turns, but nothing with that resistance. And by doing that and copying what they did recently, yeah. So that's
David,
why I'm going to spotlight this.
how do you see it being executed at a clinic? One person at a time doing it?
I think we would be able to do multiple for those that are going, they can attach to two different sides of a golf cart and get that resistance thing. Anyone that's going to be, you know, approaching the full swing station.
And how do we incorporate this with our seated participants? The rotation thing is pretty important.
Yeah. I mean, we can do that. And
If they're in a wheelchair,
uh-huh,
Can you see me?
right here.
Yeah. So still getting that range.
Right. And if I have it up a little higher, I can still.
You have there's the upper torso, and then here's the other. It was just from instead of hooking it onto the golf cart, it was Ross.
Hold on to it. You got the one where you're holding on to it?
Yeah. So you were holding on to it. Where were you? Here. Seeing this?
Oh, wow.
And so if we have someone in one of our adaptive golf cars and we have them, you know, strapped in and more upright into their golf position, we can allow this right here on either side of the person.
That's
Okay,
exciting.
Ross, what is he working on right now? His strengthening his core?
A little bit of everything. So yes, he's doing a core thing. So we did a couple different things. One, he felt his left side pulling. So I'm pulling the band back, obviously. He's fighting that as he's trying to pull forward on his golf club. His left side was pulling. Then I said, I want you to now push it with your right side. So then he got his right side into this thing. So we've got a left side pull, a right side push. You saw him change his feet position. So he went from a wide stance to a narrow stance. We get again working on balance and control. And the resistance of this thing, what all started happening is you start to add some resistance into a movement. This is kind of like a baseball player swinging a heavy bat. It really makes, when you let that band off that golf club go, you feel
right. Everything is lighter
and everything is lighter. So his wrist and hands just are getting worked. His shoulders are getting worked. But he's not doing a ton of them. He's doing enough of them just to kind of get his muscles engaged, which brings warmth, so that as you move into these activities, not only get motion and some strength and some balance, but he's also increasing his body temperature. And that ultimately is what we want to do when we're warming up. Just stretching prior to participation really is not effective. There's even shown through several studies that there's a higher risk of injury when you try to stretch, just stretching before you play. We want to increase body temperature, which is the way to really increase the overall body's ability to meet the demands of movement. But if we do that through resistive stuff, again, even more efficient. And you can see him struggling with balance, putting one foot in front of the other.
Well stated. And that just should give us all a clear picture that look at the benefit of creating the movement and the warm up versus stretching. There's clearly a difference.
Is it possible at any stage to have something, since I guess it's definitely going to be a while before we get back to be able to play adaptive golf? I'm missing it. I'm seeing my body change, because me going to golf was like, that was my happy time. It was much about the people there as it was about swinging. And I noticed, because I'm in the house more, I'm doing less. I feel things getting tighter. Is there any way to have, or even to recommend, like, say, a YouTube follow along video? Something that, like, I can literally say, okay, and I'm doing the reps with them and then to the other side. Do you think that would ever be a possibility? Or even if it's actually doesn't, maybe no one really wants to do all that, if it could be a sheet of exercises, like this is 1 through whatever, something that I could follow, that I could be consistent and hold myself accountable to?
I think that's a great idea. I think what we might look at do, David, is put together a little kind of like a boot camp almost, where we have
That'd
little
be
activities and
fantastic.
stations, and we can just set up a video that you can pull up, and you can begin this process that we can show an efficient way to be able to kind of keep your body in check to play. Great idea.
And showing the things that we're inclined to do incorrectly, because we're on our own. We don't, like, when we're with you guys, we have the support, someone's going to say, but you were saying things like, you know, I'm sure it's important how much we're bending over, the position of our feet, how do we challenge, how do we make it easier, adapt it? That would be so wonderful for me to say, every day in the morning or whatever time, I'm going to do my 15-minute golf warm up. And that's all I do for my day. Feel strength and I'm winning. If I'm feeling like I want to go outside and actually swing, then I know I've done something to have my body in a good place for that. I would absolutely want to. Like I said, if that's too much, I'm very okay with like a sheet of paper that says, you know, if you could get some pictures of models or what have you, and then this is what we're doing. But if it was a follow along, like a legit, like, not, you know, some follow along videos are like, they'll do it 2 times, but they'll tell you to do it 10. Well, if we're doing it 10, then you do it 10, like for real follow along. So I don't have to think. Yeah, okay. So I wasn't ready for that.
So obviously David's planning on leading the video.
Right, clearly. And I love those workout outfits you're looking at. That's a really good idea.
I knew you'd get a kick out of it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Hey,
that would
Ross.
be exciting. I'd appreciate that.
Ross, as a coach, I'm hopeful that I can look at that video, and if I'm working with an adaptive golfer, that I'll be able to explain to them, okay, we're trying to raise the temperature of your body. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. And I know perhaps you'll be there when we start using it, but you're not going to be there all the time. So I want to feel comfortable that I'm recommending the right things.
That's a great thought. One of the things that I tell everybody when you're doing any kind of exercise, golf is not exercise.
Okay.
The things that we're doing that I'm showing you here are exercises to improve your ability to play golf. Golf is a sport. When you're exercising, I have one of my biggest parameters is that you should never be hurting when you're doing an exercise.
Okay.
So if somebody's doing an exercise and they're hurting in their back or their shoulder, then something either has to be modified or you stop it until we can figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, that is the biggest thing. Okay, you're not going to be able to understand all the little idiosyncrasies and all the little pieces that go along with this, and I wouldn't expect everybody to. That's what I do. Been doing it for 35, 36 years. But if you understand that we don't want anybody to hurt, then you're not hurting anybody. They may not be getting the best out of it, but they're not doing any damage. So adding resistance to somebody doing an exercise, even if they're doing it wrong and not hurting, they're going to get something out of it.
Okay.
But if they're doing it exactly right, so here's the video, here's the information, here's the card, here's the book, here's everything, and they're hurting, there's a problem. So that's the biggest takeaway on anybody doing any exercise. It's the biggest part of what we do in here. We go through all these things in rehabilitation and in strength training that you should never, ever hurt. What we do want, which we may not get to that point doing these small numbers, is muscle burn. So if they're feeling it burning in their side, they're feeling it burning in their stomach because the muscles are working and getting lactic acid, that's really the golden apple. That means they're going to get better and better and better. But pain will create problems. Always, it's going to create a problem we don't want. So by going through this with you and kind of giving you some information, and we can put some stuff together on those levels of what we want to try to do, I don't want people to be afraid of it. I want everybody to be able to start trying to do this process and just knowing that if it hurts, tell me, we can modify it. Or stop. Just don't want it hurting.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm just selfishly thinking from a coaching perspective. Is this session enough where I could go work with Mark Helverson and he can start doing it? I guess I could do it, but it seems like, I don't know if we need a separate sheet of paper that says focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that.
We can definitely put something together. Are you getting ready to say something, David? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was just going to elaborate on what he was saying, because, yeah, we want to continue to empower our coaches, our volunteers. And, Tom works a lot with our seated golfers. So I know that was on his first question. But I thought, well, we could apply this resistance, routine with these bands with anyone. And we just have to be observant, I think. Just like if we're starting out with someone swinging a golf club for the first time and after injury, we say, the baby swings, kind of like the baby steps. We use our Believe It board. We have them taking half swings and then build on it from there. Where would that be a similar approach? We have them, they're pretty much going to dictate what their range of motion is. And if there is any flinching, then that's when let's take a minute and address if there's any pain.
And we can go through things a little bit more elaborately, even through a session with this. And whether it's this time or whether it's the next time, we can get even more informative, and we can get some information out to everybody. But even, like I said, even if we follow the guidelines and directions on how to do these things, what I don't want is pain. I want to improve movement and have people feel good about that. Easy for me to be able to understand that. I recognize that. But anybody should, as a qualifying question to doing the exercise. If you're having pain when we're doing something, then I need to know, or a statement. I need to know if you're having any pain with that. Otherwise, we're going to put this, I mean, here's your golf swing. I want to rotate. I want to rotate. I know I want to rotate, whether I'm sitting, whether I'm standing. I want to try to get to rotate unless it's a problem. I got something that's fused. It's going to be a bit of an issue, but even fused, people can begin to move and not have a problem, and it may improve their ability to make that motion. Same thing in my hips. When we show up with the hips, I want to be able to rotate through these hips. I got big back problems that occur with people because their hips can't move. So the better we are at being able to address this through some exercises prior to playing, they're going to feel better. And we all know about balance, how difficult that is. You don't really hurt trying to fight your balance, other than your ego gets hurt trying to be able to maintain balance doing these exercises. But if we just look at that golf swing, it's a rotational movement. And I want to improve rotation, and doing it through this efficient way of having this dowel or just some bands can make somebody feel pretty good.
Actually, just something I wanted to add, because I'm glad, David, I saw this, like literally you popped up and said that this was going on, and I was super interested. I've been trying to go online, looking on YouTube for just different things, and it's not really easy finding adaptive golf, so I find what I can and then try to adapt it. And it was interesting when you were talking about balance, something I saw really interesting, although I haven't tried it. The person recommended standing on a pillow or I guess something that's not solid, and then just kind of practice with the putting. And what he was saying, what you're activating is the fact that it is unbalanced and you're not taking big swings, but he's like, when you put your feet back on solid ground, you're going to feel so much more secure and so much more anchored. So those tiny little tips, like I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I don't know. But to be able to have something like this to say, if you're at home, like me being able to work on my balance, regardless if it's for golf or whatever, is going to be a benefit. And knowing things, just like you were saying, Ross, you were talking about the difference of our feet together versus if we have it in front of each other. Like it would be nice if there was something that gave that basic overview and understanding. So, hey, if you're at home and you're in the kitchen or you're doing whatever, why don't you try this stance for a couple of minutes and maybe build up to it? I don't know, just something that makes me feel that I feel like I made a lot of progress with adaptive golf in 6 months. And I feel like it's being thank you, Mila, I appreciate you. And I feel like it's being, I won't say undone, it's plateaued, it's stopped. And I don't know the little things that I could be doing at home to just at least keep that progress I made intact. Because when I do go back on there, I don't feel like I'm going to start from ground zero, but I just know there's going to be tightness. It's going to make me mentally feel some kind of way, like I lost what I had. And I know I didn't, but I also know I'm not doing anything to maintain. So anything that can be shared, be it a PDF, a video, anything that just says, hey, balance is an issue, or your hips are tight, have you tried this? Or just references to places that we can individually as players just go to and say, literally, I'm at home, I have time, I just don't know where to go, I don't know how to put something together that is going to keep me really maintain. If I got better, that'd be awesome, but at the very least, I would just like to maintain what I gained from adaptive golf, from being out there.
Oh, good point. Then we will we'll make a note to compile some clips of that to give some demonstrations and reference others that we may find. And
right, that would be super duper helpful. Or yeah, I don't even know if you guys have, or if it would even be beneficial, because I know most people on Facebook, if there was an adaptive golf Facebook group, so people want to ask questions there. You know what? I've been having tightness in my hip. What should I do? Or whatever, just more of an interaction. Because of course, I know you guys have been doing the Zoom, which is super awesome. It's not really interactive. It's more like teacher-student thing. So if people wanted to have that more free, this is what's going on. Or if someone's, every now and then I see friends are going golfing and doing things. I don't know, just something that allows us to engage our own bodies and have the guidance and support of people who know the best way to do it safely at home. That would be super awesome.
I have a lot of obviously knowledge in regards to this from a
Mhm.
physical therapy and as it relates to golf as well.
Mhm,
Where I
mhm.
miss sometimes is the obvious because I
Mm.
see all things all the time.
Understood. Understood.
Having this feedback from you
Mhm.
has been tremendous. I saw some
Oh,
stuff,
wonderful. I'm happy to hear that.
yeah, with James the other day, being able to solve the problem of being
Mm.
engaging at a individual level
Mhm.
is a bit more challenging and difficult for me. I'm just
Mhm.
not well
Mhm.
versed on how to be able to engage from the Facebook world. Uh,
Right.
it's
Understood.
been
No
pretty
worries.
good. I'm open to solutions of how that engagement
Mhm.
can transfer. So
That
if
that
you're going to
is
be able to help
absolutely
build that,
fantastic.
that'd be great. If you know how to do that and you're sitting at home and don't have a whole lot going on, I'd be happy to be able to sit down with you and figure out how we can put some things together in conjunction with David, and
I would
we can start getting this out.
absolutely, I would absolutely love that opportunity because not only what it means for me personally, but as all of you know, when you're a teacher, it helps you to learn even better. So
Hmm.
for me to have to teach and explain to someone else means I'm gonna have to understand it even more and I'm gonna have to benefit from it because you can only speak from your own knowledge. So right now I have nothing to share because I don't know anything, but if I'm working with you and then I'm getting the benefit, it puts me in a better position to help other people who are like, oh, I'm not able to go, so I kind of lost the love of it, or now I'm scared to go back because I regressed all the way back to from before we started. I don't think any of us have regressed all the way back to ground zero, but I think if we continually stay where we are, which is in our feelings and not doing anything, it's going to be harder
Right.
to start back. And I really don't want that. I really don't.
Tom, what would help you more? So you've got some legitimate concerns and wondering whether or not this can be adapted to your coaching program. Um, you're wanting a little bit more specifics on how to be able to implement the process, correct?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we need to be coached
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
on how to work with someone. I mean, just the fact that you said if something hurts, don't do it. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to hurt anyone. I want to be able to take this, sit down stand behind someone, whether they're in a wheelchair or Francesca, and just
Mhm. Mhm.
have the confidence that I can get them to do what you're conveying here.
Right, without pain, without injury,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Tom,
Just
first
like
of all, can I say you are so absolutely lovely, and we absolutely know that's what you're all here for. You know what makes me happy is the fact that you guys are there and you're smiling and you always got us. Keep in mind, we already know what our limitations are. I'm not going to push it. The only time I won't say I've ever pushed my limitations. I've seen I've outgrown them, and that's because you guys are so patient. So I definitely don't want you feeling like you're trying to help us or help someone and then you accidentally hurt someone and put them in a bad condition. We absolutely know our limitations. I'm not going beyond it. But what happens is because of your support, because you're there, I will naturally outgrow it. Like when we first started, remember someone had to have a weight belt. I couldn't even stand on my own.
you
Then
have
after a
come
while,
so far. I mean, it's
you're so
unbelievable.
wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you so much for that. So that's what I want you to know. Please feel safe, feel comfortable. Know that all of us, we appreciate you. We love you. There is nothing you can do to hurt us. We absolutely know our limitations. We're not going to go beyond that. The fact that coaches, I've never had a coach push me for anything. If anything, you guys are more conservative, like take your time, don't push it. What will happen naturally is we will get stronger. And as we get stronger, we will go beyond our limitation. I'm not pushing past it. I'm actually outgrowing those limitations. So I don't want you to feel because you're so awesome and so considerate. I don't want that to be on your mind. Um, of course, it can happen. I'm just saying we already know our limitations. We're not pushing it, right? You can't push us. You never have. That's not even your nature. You're there to be like, whatever we want to do, you're there for us.
Yeah, support it.
When that day comes and we could do more, you're also there for us to celebrate and share. That's what you've always done for me and everyone else. So
Yeah, and if there's things that we can add to what you're able to do and your confidence level goes up, you may take yourself a step farther along.
right.
Right.
Naturally,
Yeah.
not
and
because
so I
anyone
think,
asked me to.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool thing that we can apply and add to what's going on that may help you progress to the next level.
That's what I would like. I would like to keep progressing. I did not expect the amount of progression I had in 6 months at all. And so that's why I'm a little bit in my feelings and feeling a little emotional, because I'm like, please, I do not want to lose that. And I want to continue on that. And that's only because I've never been pressured to do anything. If anything, they're like, have a seat, you want some water, you okay? But I'm feeling better and I'm doing better and I'm doing more. So that's what I want you to know, Tom. You are absolutely wonderful. All the coaches are awesome. You guys can literally, in my opinion, do no wrong.
Thanks.
You're absolutely welcome.
Hey, this is Dr. Ross Brakeville joining us live from downtown Atlanta. And he's our health and wellness advisor. And what's the proper title for the world ranking for golfers with disabilities? Medical evaluator?
Yes, evaluator. Yep.
You know, we're looking at some competitive events coming up again. You know, they've been rescheduled, but they're right around the corner. So we'll be after that very soon and keep everybody in tune with it.
Okay.
And to answer your question, yeah, June was right around the corner, and that is when we will be rolling out our GSGA adaptive golf classes. So look for more information on that and the new procedures that we're rolling out to keep everyone safe and maintain that type of health and wellness as well. So
Thanks,
Ross,
David.
thank you very much for taking the time.
Good stuff, Ross.
Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
Tom.
you.
We will follow back up and put some programs together to help you guys out.
Woo-hoo.
Great.
Yes, please, and thank you.
All right.